In today's Leeds news, interest in Paintsill, Gnonto back in training with squad, Leeds Foundation matchday experience continues, Leeds move for Joel Piroe. Morning folks, Jay here on the 23rd of August with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a really good week. 9 days to go in the window. Things are starting to creep forward slowly. There's some noise, some murmurings. No actual signings just yet, although I'll timestamp this. It's early on the 23rd, so this could happen later in the day, so bear that in mind. One a week as well. If you like the channel, if you like what I'm trying to do here, you can help support me and the channel grow by subscribing and liking the video. We're like 130 or 140 off of 15,000 subscribers, which is amazing. So close to that. So that's the 1 week. I won't ask again. We'll move on. Let's talk about the incomings. And last night, according to Sky Sports, Leeds United are interested in Genk attacker Joseph Paintsill. A fee of around £8.5 million is what will be needed in order to get the player to Leeds. He's an exciting player. It is the Belgian league, that should be said, but there are still some very talented and good players in that Belgian league. Paintsill is an attacking midfielder or a left-sided player and would be seen as an ideal replacement for someone like a Luis Sinisterra or a Jack Harrison, having one of the two left and one possibly still couldn't move. He did score 18 goals and 39 appearances last season from the wide area, so does have goals in his locker. As I said, will be seen as a replacement for one of the wingers, or even a possibility of a number 10 position for him as well. One to keep an eye on over the next couple of days, I'm sure. Let's move on to top of players that are staying at Leeds United, at least for the immediate time. And this was one I don't think anybody saw really happening after so much water has gone under the bridge with Willy Nonto. According to The Athletic, Phil Hay broke an exclusive last night stating that Willy Nonto is now back in training with the Leeds United first team. This comes on the back of Everton having 4 separate bids for the attacker rejected by Leeds, and Leeds being very, very, very clear on their player not for sale mantra on this one. So Gnonto has been training alone during this period of time, as he has tried to force the move away. 2 very public ones, one being the transfer request handed in 90 minutes before the game at the weekend against West Brom, and refusing to get on the bus, or deciding he wasn't travelling to the game when the players were boarding the bus for the Birmingham game. So Phil Hayes said last night that there was positive discussions between Daniel Farke, Angus Kinnear and Willy Nonto, and Leeds have been open to reintegrating the player into the squad, as they would regard him as a key and major asset for this season. They want to hang on to him beyond deadline day. However, despite all of this talk and all of this information about Gnonto back in training, and there could be a positive there as well, the transfers.com are claiming that Everton will try one more time closer to the close of the window with a move to get Leeds to release Gnonto. A bid likely to be closer to Leeds' valuation of £30 million for the player could still happen. It will be interesting to see how Leeds and Gnonto approach this, but I'm sure we'll find out on Thursday when Daniel Farke's press conference comes up about this situation, and then we'll see if he's in the squad coming into the game the weekend as well. Just because he's back in training doesn't mean he's made himself available to playing games yet. We'll have to wait and see. Farke wouldn't have him in the squad if he wasn't available to play, so we'll have to see if this actually pans out to mean something that's genuine, a proper U-turn from Willy Nonto. There would still need to be an apology made at this point from Gnonto for him to move forward with the club, in my personal opinion, but remains to be seen. I don't think this one is over just yet. I think there will be slightly more murmurings before the window closes. Moving on to some positive news from inside the club, and the Leeds United Foundation matchday experience will continue into next season. Yesterday, Leeds United Foundation basically announced a continuation of their matchday experience. So what this is, for every Sky Bet Championship home game, a number of tickets will be made available for local teams and groups who would like to experience Elland Road and Leeds on a matchday experience from behind the scenes. This involves photographs with Lucas de Kopka, photographs of players, tours of the dressing rooms, as well as some food on the day. I think the cost is about £600 for the entire, or for 15 players or people to be involved in this. It's a lovely thing for the club to do, to get involved with local communities and local clubs as well, to give these kids an opportunity to get in and see what goes on behind the scenes at Elland Road. Massively positive thing. Love it. Great that's been done. That continues. So if you want more information on that, you can get it on leedsunited.com as well. Moving on to the main story and the final story of today. There's not a lot of stories going around, but the ones that are there are pretty chunky. So we'll start with this, and we'll start with this morning. And according to Alan Nixon, Leeds United are active in their pursuit of Swansea striker Joel Piroe. Nixon stated that a massive contract would be needed to entice the player away from Swansea. There has been talk of a renewed contract with the player at Swansea. That looks like it has now fallen short of happening, and it does open the door for Leeds and other clubs maybe to move in. Leeds are said to be willing to pay up to the £15 million fee that Swansea would accept for the player. Swansea, as I just said, will be open to that fee. However, there's some differentiating prices on this one. We'll get to that in a sec. Phil Hay, The Athletic, has doubled down on this, reporting this morning that Leeds are working with Swansea on a structure of a deal. Piroe scored 19 goals last season, 22 in the year before that. Would be seen as a very, very top asset. He's the only one of the top 4 strikers from last season in the Championship to still be in the Championship, and it would be a bit of a coup for Leeds if they could get him in. Hay says it's increasingly likely that Piroe will leave Swansea before the end of the window, but there is, and should be said, more interest in the player. Leicester and Southampton are still keeping an eye on the player. Shay Adams is expected to leave Southampton this week, which would free up some money then for them to make a move for a player. Sky Sports this morning claimed that talks between the two clubs are ongoing around the structure of this deal. Sky say Leeds value the player at £8 million, where Swansea value him closer to the 15, so there is still some wiggle room there to be tapped out in terms of getting a deal that both clubs will be happy with. Southampton and Leicester also mentioned by Sky Sports as being very interested in the player. The key thing on this and what has been said is speed will be Leeds' ally on this. Leeds will need to move rapidly to get this deal done before other parties get involved. We have seen what happened with the Max Aarons deal. Once it leaked out that Leeds had made the move and agreed a fee, Bournemouth stepped in, matched the fee and then moved. So Leeds will need to move rapidly on this. How does this come about in the Cameron Archer situation? How the Cameron Archer situation crosses over with this? Well, basically what's been said is that Leeds were very, very interested in Cameron Archer, but when it became apparent that Premier League clubs and the fee of between 16 and 19 million was being touted, Leeds were not in a position to match any Premier League interest that came in for the player just in spending power. So Leeds backed away from that. They did like the player, but if there is a Premier League club interested in, and if the fee does go higher, Leeds won't be in a position to match that. That applies to this situation as well with Joe Piroe. If a Premier League club gets involved in this, it could be the end of the deal. It should also be said that the fact that Sheffield United have moved for Cameron Archer takes their interest away from Joel Piroe completely as well, which might leave the door open now for Leeds to move in and get this done quickly. If this is to be done, and it is still a big if, Leeds will need to move rapidly on this to get it across the line. Piroe's goals are incredible. 46 goals in 96 appearances from a 24-year-old is incredible to have and will be a huge asset for Leeds to have. But again, Bournemouth have been mentioned with the player before as well. There are other clubs, especially the teams that got promoted, they'll be sniffing around here as well. So contract's going to be important, but speed is going to be the more important factor here. So we'll keep an eye on this. It might happen today. It might happen tomorrow. It might happen in a couple of days. Leeds need to get moving. So far, as of Wednesday now, Leeds have brought in no new players this week or last week. Leeds will need to get something in before the game at the weekend in order to make next week, I suppose, less panicky in terms of the amount of the volume of players they will need to bring in. I still expect Leeds to bring in 3 to 4 players. However, if you listen to Daniel Farke's comments, he reckons he needs reinforcements across every position on the pitch except for goalkeeper, which would be 10 players, which I just don't see happening at the moment. I think Leeds are battling to get the players they want to get. They're trying to go for these bigger players that would make a bigger impact, but they will take longer to get those deals done, and it will take longer for Leeds to get them across the line. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for me today. Have a fantastic day, and if anything breaks tonight, we might do a live stream, we might not, depends on what happens. I'll be back tomorrow with the Leeds news and hopefully some updates on a lot of the stories that have been going around so far this week. At some point, this has to tick over into actual signings. We'll have to wait and see. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.